Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. It's TheSketchMonkey here. Today we're having a look at this. This is the new Mercedes AMG C43, and under the hood we do have a 4-cylinder 2-liter turbo engine now. So I'm interested in seeing, does this still have that AMG madness to it, since this is in fact the proper AMG Mercedes. The overall styling, I think, is one of the best looking sedans on the market today, specifically with these gorgeous 20-inch optional wheels and this lunar blue color. There are a couple of things that I would spec this differently. I'm going to talk more about that in a minute. We're also going to talk, of course, about this gorgeous front-end design, the beautiful proportions in the side view and the rear, the interior, and then we're going to take this for a drive. Let's start with a quick walk around of the C43 AMG. As I said, overall, the proportions of this thing, I think it looks absolutely fantastic. However, a couple of things that I would change here. You can get this with a sort of black optics package, which turns all this chrome that you see around the windows and also this chrome piece turns that into black, and that is 100% something that I would personally do. And I would not go with this lunar blue, like royal blue color. I think it's $1,400 option. We're gonna have a look at the sticker in a minute. I would probably go with a matte silver for this car. I think that would look great. More traditional, more classic Mercedes look for this design. But starting with the front end, you can see that we now have this upside down grille for pretty much every single new Mercedes these days, and I do think it suits the C-Class to have this, even though the previous one had this smiling grille, which also looked really nice and more elegant, not so aggressive. But at the same time, I don't think this is too aggressive for a Mercedes. I love the design of the headlights. You do have full LED headlights, of course, with this LED daytime run light, and I like the internal pieces of this headlight as well. It says Mercedes-Benz in there. Beautiful sculpture of this design, and one detail, one line that I like here is this line. See how it cuts over and creates this nice little indent here that then connects to the very corner of the front of the grille. Up top we do have these typical Mercedes lines or creases, waves in the hood, which I think looks great. We also have a center line here. I'm not sure if you can see it, but it fades the further up we come onto the grille. And also a big Mercedes logo in the front end with the front mounted camera located right above it. This is completely open, the front grille. The lower section also completely open. The sides, we do have a lot of plastic here, but that's fine because we still have some functionality in here with these side vents. Overall, I do like what Mercedes is doing with their design. Some of the most beautiful designs on the market today. The powertrain is obviously going to be the big news in this case. So under the hood, we do have a 2-liter 4-cylinder turbocharged engine, but it puts out 402 horsepower and 369 pound-feet of torque. So it's still a very powerful engine. You also have a mild hybrid setup. You have a 9-speed automatic transmission. 0 to 60 is done in 3.9 seconds according to Mercedes, but it is in fact a little bit slower than that when people have tested it in real life, more closer to 4.2 to 4.4 seconds or something like that. Fuel economy comes in at 18 city, 27 highway, and the base price for this is $62,000. I'm going to show you exactly what this one costs when we jump into the interior, and I'm going to show you the sticker price. You have a small little electric motor inside of the turbo which pre-spools the turbo to reduce turbo lag, and that is something that I'm not so sure about because I personally, that might just be me, but I like turbo lag so in a turbo car. I just think it adds to the overall dramatic driving experience of a turbo car. So you do have a small little electric motor somewhere in here that pre-spools the turbo to reduce that sensation of the turbo lag. So let's move around to the side view because we do have some options here as well. For this C43, we do have the 20-inch wheels, and Mercedes these days, I've said this before, but I do think Mercedes, when it comes to any sort of wheel, the steering wheel is beautiful in this car. The wheels themselves look fantastic. They're 265s in the rear, and we do have this inner piece for this wheel, 20-inch wheels all around, 265 Michelin Pilot Sport tires. You have the AMG in the wheel itself, and this is the inner piece that I'm talking about. I actually really like when they put that in there because when this is rotating, it looks like it has a second inner circle. inside of the wheels. So we have two 65s in the rear end and we have two 45s in the front end. And this is an all-wheel drive car, but it is heavily rear biased. So looking at the proportions of this car, I love the styling that Mercedes is doing. One single line that I love about this car is the shoulder line, because have a look at this. How it beautifully starts here, fades right before it meets the rear end, and then continues all across here, and then creating a very sharp line going into the front end before it fades right before the headlight. We also have the side mirrors here with the indicator and the camera, and this is what I'm talking about. I would not want to have this chrome here, this being an AMG. Probably on the normal C-Class wouldn't be too big of a deal, but having it be the AMG, I want to black everything out. You can actually get this all blacked out if you want to. We also have another beautiful line that stretches across the lower section of the car. Does have a connection in the rear end with this bumper line right here. Beautiful, it just looks elegant. It has this Mercedes elegance to it. We have turbo electrified badge on the side here, so you know exactly what it is you're driving, I guess. So moving around to the rear end, and I don't know which angle of this car is my favorite angle for this specific vehicle. I do think it's beautiful all around, and I do like what's going on here in the rear as well. We have the nice looking taillights, LEDs, and have a look at all the design features going on inside of this light. Looking super crisp and dynamic with this piece that's chopped up like this, and then you have the small details, the indicators at the lower section. Beautifully done, C43 in chrome, Mercedes badge of course, and we do have the AMG badge on the other side, and we also have the silver tips at the very bottom. Sounds decent for a 4-cylinder, but you can definitely still hear that it's not a 6-cylinder or a V8 anymore in the C-Class AMG. Still sounds pretty good, but again, I want to have this be 100% blacked out. I'm not so sure about the silver trim piece that we have down here. One detail that Mercedes is putting on pretty much every single car that they have these days is this piece, and I'm not sure why. It's not functional. It looks pretty good here because this is the AMG model, but they also put it on the regular C-Class, and it just ruins the otherwise clean look in the rear end. As I said, it works pretty good here on the AMG. We also have this little beautiful lip spoiler up top, creating this nice send-off for the rear end design. Let's jump in and have a look at this stunning interior. There are a couple of things here though that I am a little bit surprised by when it comes to the finish of this interior, specifically when you're driving it. There's a lot of unusual creaks in the interior that I'm not used to hearing from Mercedes. I'm going to talk more about that when we take this for a drive, but here's an overview. We have these optional leather seats as well. We have the start button up here. Love these dials that we have. Beautiful dials by Mercedes. Let's turn the hazards off. All right, so here we have it. The base price for this is $59,900. This is equipped with Lunar Blue Metallic. It's not $1,400, as I said, it's $750 option. You have the Sienna Black Leather, $1,600 option. What else do we have? The 20-inch wheels comes out at $1,450. You have the panorama roof here. It stretches all the way back to the passenger seat, and this one comes out at $72,630 as this one is spec'd. First of all, we have two screens, which is typical these days for pretty much every single new car. We have an 11.9-inch infotainment screen that does have this slight angle to it towards the passengers that we don't have in the AMG GT, for example, but we do have it here. It's fine when you're sitting in the driver's seat like this. You don't really notice the angle, but when you're sitting in the rear seat and having a look at the symmetry here, it's a little bit annoying that it's tilted that way. But inside here we have a lot of different settings you can go through. We also have some data for the car itself. I can show you that. Going into AMG performance, you're gonna see it right here. It looks pretty cool. You have these angles for the steering wheel, and you also have the angles for the rear wheels. You have the rear wheel steering in this car. The engine power here, the consumption, you can check that out as well. You can also check out the tire pressure. In this case, it looks like we have a small little leak on the front right tire. We have the brake meter here. The harder you press the brake, you can see the graphics, and you also have the accelerator on the other side. I love this. It looks very cool. I love what Mercedes is doing with their software and their integration of whatever is going on in both of the screens. You also have some solid cameras here, a full 360 camera. You can check out whatever view you want. This one is silver though. This is exactly actually the color that I want to have on my AMG 43. This matte silver that I talked about when we did the walk around. You have the auto as well. Look at the resolution here. Beautifully done by Mercedes. You also have parking assistance if you want to check that out. You have seat kinetics, which is not really a massage. It's more of a, I'm not sure what it is. It feels wavy right here on the bottom part of the seat, and that's pretty much it. I'm not entirely sure what that is for. It doesn't feel like a massage. But looking at the gauge cluster here, this is pretty decently integrated in the car itself. I think it has a nice, it doesn't have a housing to it, but it has a nice base to it. So it feels like it's sitting properly inside here. And you can see the big head-up display that we can change if we want to. So we go in here, now I'm in race, which means you have a big tachometer right in front of your face. You can change this up to have whatever you want here. If you want to have just a minimal with the speedometer, you can have that. Eco display, you can change the settings in here as well. And you do that by controlling these buttons here on the steering wheel. If we go down, you can now change how the layout of the gauge cluster itself looks like. And this again just looks very clean, and this is what you want when you have a full 12.3-inch digital display, which is made all out of pixels. You want to have it be configurable like this, and I think Mercedes has done a great job with that. If you want, you can even have it in this classy layout. I like to have it in, I like these track pace and the Super Sport because they look very cool. And you can also change settings within those different styles of gauge cluster graphics. As you can see, the center portion is changing here. I love these vent designs, very beautifully done by Mercedes. And this, you can just look at one of these vents and you know instantly that this is a Mercedes. Soft touch material up top. We have some wood trim here. This, I would like to have this be in maybe carbon fiber, or maybe not even carbon fiber, if that would be like a $2,500 option, just something else than wood. We also have a proper glove box here. Moving further down, you can see that we have this storage space which you can close up, gloss black, which I'm not a huge fan of. If we open this up, you can see that we do have a wireless charger if this wants to stay up like that. We have a wireless charger here, 2 USB-Cs, and this is what the key looks like. Very clean, and I love this chamfer that goes around it. A couple of buttons here, lock, unlock, and open the trunk button right there. Now, there is no buttons for the climate control settings in here, physical buttons that is. You have everything located right here, and if you need more settings, you can just click the climate menu on the infotainment screen. It's going to show you exactly what's going on with where you want the air to come out from, for example, and also the fan speed. You adjust that down here. You have a couple of buttons down here. We talked about this, for example, all the functions here, the camera button. You also have this AMG button, which is going to show you all the drive modes. If you put it in the Sport Plus, you can hear that it livens up a little bit, opens up the exhaust, and it becomes a little bit more aggressive. And now you can also see the temperature of all the transmission, the engine oil and water temp right there if you want to do that. You have 5 different drive modes. You can change it either there, or I like to do it with these beautiful dials here. So you have Sport Plus, Sport, Comfort, Individual, or you have a snow setting here. And if we go into, for example, Sport, you also have this dial on the left side where you can change the AMG Dynamics. You can see that it changes on the screen here as well, from Basic, Advanced to Pro, or you can change the suspension settings here. If you have it in Sport Plus, it's going to be very rough, I'm telling you that already, but I like that. You even have more settings here. If you click on this dial itself, you can see that it changes what it is you're changing with this button. So it's pretty easy to use here, and I think this layout is just stunning with the internal graphics inside of there. It just feels proper, it feels Mercedes. Further back, we do have an armrest here with two more USB-Cs, so you have a total of 4, 2 here and 2 up there in the front. Decent size for this armrest, and this is also leather wrapped in this optional leather. The seats themselves, I'm a little bit surprised by this because I'm not a huge fan of how these seats look. I think they should have done a little bit more special seats for an AMG model, even though they are very comfortable. You don't have massaging seats, however, you do have heated seats right here. You don't get cooled seats in this specific car. I do believe that is an option for this C43. Now, the steering wheel here, and this is one of the best looking steering wheels on sale in any car today. Just have a look at this gorgeous design. Silver at the bottom, AMG flat bottom, very fat, and that's exactly what we want in an AMG model. We have the big round Mercedes logo. I love this section that houses the Mercedes logo in the middle. You have this slider buttons. I don't know what to call these buttons. They're not really buttons separated, but if you click them, they do exactly what they're supposed to do based on the icon, of course. Further down, you do have the controls for the cruise control settings, and here you have controls for the voice command and the volume controls as well. Looking up top, we do have this full optional panoramic sunroof, which you can close by using these buttons here, these sliders, which is going to close up the entire thing if you don't want to have this open. And let's keep this open for now, and let's get some light in here. And of course, you do have these big paddles that are, I do believe, these are metal paddles, and they stick out both in the bottom and at the top. Overview of the back seats, you do have separated climate control settings here, so you have 4 zones in this car. It's surprisingly roomy back here. I have no problems for my legs. Head space is pretty decent as well, even though I do hit the side here. I do think that has to do with this thick piece to be able to house the sunroof. If we fold down the center armrest, you are going to find some cell phone holders. You can place your cell phones here. Here you have these settings for the climate control settings in the back. Pretty standard stuff. 2 regular vents up top, and also, if you can see it, 2 USB-Cs down here at the bottom. Alright guys, it's time to take the C43 AMG for a drive. I'm starting off in comfort. First thing I noticed when I jump into this car there are some weird rattles in this car, which I was not expecting. Not sure if you can hear it. There's something here rattling. I'm trying to figure out what it could be, but I can't seem to find it. There's also something rattling in the passenger area on the driver's side. So stuff like that I haven't noticed in any other Mercedes that I've been testing before. Maybe it's just this example, I'm not sure. There are small details, but still, this is a Mercedes. You don't want any rattles on a brand new Mercedes like this. So let's pop it in to Sport Plus, and let's also put it into manual. I just love these dials that we have down here. My favorite steering wheel of any car in production right now. Still no one behind us right now. Let's come to a stop real quick and go down to first gear, and let's floor it. Let's go. There you can feel the turbos kicking in. There's a lot of noise pumped in to the cabin, which is totally fine. I mean, we do have the regulations these days that, specifically in Europe, very strict noise regulations for new cars. Ferrari had issues with that, with the new 12-cylinder model that they came out with. They also had to work on that too. It's a big V12. You want to hear the noise. But unfortunately, you can't really do that these days in Europe. So we have some noise pumped in here. 401 horsepower, 369 pound-feet of torque. And when you're on roads like this, you don't really care about any small little rattles in the interior. This is a fantastic car to drive. And just knowing that it looks this good, even though I'm personally not a huge fan of this lunar blue color that we have, but listen to that noise and those burps. on the upshifts. Downshifts, we do have some pops and bangs on the downshift. So we do have that AMG spirit, I would say, even though this is just a 4-cylinder. Nine-speed automatic. The automatic transmission is great. You just need to let it warm up before you push it real hard. Otherwise, it's going to be very, very jerky. Something I really, again, haven't really noticed from other Mercedes models, but this one, you sort of have to let it warm up first. But man, this goes. It's not super quick or super fast, but it still picks up relatively good. With 401 horsepower, it's still a pretty heavy car with this hybrid setup that we have. I guess the question is, would you pick this, the C43, over the M340? Is that what it's called? The BMW, the 3 Series? They're in the same price range. They have similar amounts of power. Personally, I think I would go with this one just because of the design. I think Mercedes, except for the EQ series, I'm not a huge fan of the EQ series, but every other Mercedes look great. They still have that elegant feel to it that I want to see in Mercedes. And I think this C-Class still has that. It still has a proper, let's go down to second here, proper sedan proportions. Oh, those burps on the upshifts, I love it. They've done a good job with the noise in here, even though it's not the most, loud car on the exterior. As a driver, you still feel like it is. Acceleration is fine. Let's check the brake. So we're going 45 now, and I'm just gonna slam the brake. Let's go. Ooh, got a little dizzy there. Let's do a quick 0 to 60 here again, because we're all alone on this road. So to a standstill, and let's go. Build. There we go. And we're up to 60. So it takes a little while for the turbo. You don't have any turbo lag. As I said, there is this little tiny electric motor inside of the turbo itself, which is crazy. Some Formula One technology there. But you still feel that this is a turbo car when you're driving it, and I like that. I would, as I said before, I prefer to have some turbo lag because it just adds to the enjoyment of driving in the car.